get your perspective on things, and just
Yeah,
kind of, what do you feel, or how do you feel we can kind of bridge like racial reconciliation or something.
for
So
sure. And I mean, I want to hear what you have to say. I, I live in a very non-diverse area right now. Like on the South Shore of Massachusetts, there's not the racism that there is, or there's not the overt racism that there is in the South, but it's mainly because there's just not the diversity. Like I looked up our town, the town that I live in right now is probably smaller than Bowman, like population wise, and we have it's less than 1% black population. There's no other people of color at all,
really,
and that's based off of the census from 2010. You know, but I mean, my town, like I say, it's smaller than Bowman, so it's not exactly the way everywhere is. But it's just not a diverse area. I don't live in the city. We are most of our like my graduating class up here. I did graduate high school up here. Um, there were less than 5 people of color.
really.
Yeah. I mean, like literally the complete opposite of Oakland County. The complete opposite. But I think that because that we have different types of racism where it's just they don't know. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's not somebody that you didn't grow up with black and white and Mexican people all together. It's just white people around here.
Oh, that's a good point. So if you just grew up around those people, then you don't know. Like you don't
Yeah.
know.
Like when we first moved to Georgia, it was a culture shock for my brother and I because like we grew up around here where we didn't have many people of color in our classes, but my mom worked for the homeless population in Boston, so we spent every weekend in the homeless shelters. Like we were with everybody. Like it didn't matter to us. And then when we moved to Georgia and we saw that there was this divide, there was a very large culture shock, I have to say, because it's not overt up here the way that it is in the South.
Right.
It's hidden. It's hidden where, you get on, we call the subway the T up here. You get on the T and, you might hold your purse close to you, or you might go to school and go through all 12 years of school and not have a black teacher.
Wow.
Ever. My husband is an
Wow.
engineer. He went all through 13 years of school here, went through undergrad, and is working on getting certifications as an engineer. He's never had a black teacher. And when he was in college, he took a or an African American history throughout. It gave like a certain time period. I can't remember the was. It was taught by a white woman.
Wow.
And
Wow.
that's very common here.
So when you guys actually moved to Georgia, was like how was it for you adjusting to everything, being that it was so new to you?
Biggest thing to me was when we first moved there, my first day of school, the white kid called me a Yankee. And I don't know if you know this, but like in Boston, we root for the Red Sox and the Yankees are our rivals. They're New York. Like, we don't like Yankees. So I was very upset about that. And I was like, no, like, we're Red Sox fans. We don't root for the Yankees. And I just didn't understand. We were in the 7th grade. We hadn't gotten into any of that yet. And I went home and I was like, Mom, why the hell are they calling me a Yankee? Like, don't they understand I like the Red Sox? And we had to have like a very quick like Civil War lesson on the first day of 7th grade because all of these people that I had never met before, like we moved to Georgia in between 6th and 7th grade. So like I had the whole summer by myself. My first interaction with anybody in Elbert County was that first day of 7th grade, and people were calling me a dickie. And I was like, I don't understand, that wasn't something that ever happened in the North. Like, I literally did not know that the Civil War existed because I was like, I wasn't old enough to have gone to that point in school yet.
Right.
It just wasn't. I was in the 6th, 7th grade.
But yeah, so for me, even in high school, like I used to hang around you guys, but
you were friends with everybody. You were in all of the groups.
And I never looked at racism. Like I never,
nope.
I never.
No, it was never a thing. Like you were as close with like my group as well as the FFA people and the 4-H people and the sports people and the cheerleaders. Like you were just with everybody, and so was your brother. It was never a thing for you guys. And I think it was because you guys are so involved in sports that that was the bridge for you guys. Like I mean,
Good,
how
Bethany.
I don't know how to say this nicely. I don't know how to put it politely, but how can the racists be mad at their star players?
That's good. And that's exactly, I send out an email to a lot of our classmates,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe like 56 people.
Yep.
And there were probably about 24, 25 whites. No one responded back.
I see them. I see them on their Facebook.
Yes. In the email, it was like, I don't understand. I was like, in high school, we were so, we were friends, we loved on each other and all that sort of thing. Now, if we had like a secret insight on, oh, I don't like her, it wasn't shown. You know what I mean? But even today, you can root for your favorite quarterback who's a black player. But then you also, in the same sentence, you can be like, "Oh no, leave those people alone. Like, we're not doing that. We're not going to sympathize with you guys." And it's just like, what is this about? Like, how can you
go back to the last Super Bowl? Did Elbert County love Cole until he joined
that is
the Chiefs? Did anybody know who he was? No, they did not. He I think graduated with my baby brother, and they played Camp Harmony ball and grew up in Bowman. And I'm pretty sure that my mom would drive him back and forth to sports, because Miss Bonnie she'll drive anybody. If you need a ride, she'll take you. That was her thing. But nobody cared about him until he was famous, until he put Bowman on the map.
Yes.
And I think it was Devion who posted the other day a meme that was like, I'm paraphrasing, but it was like, I grew up in a town where the men would cheer you on the football field, but you weren't allowed to date their daughter.
That's good.
That's the truth.
Now, Bethany, do you think this is learned behavior?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was just talking to my husband about this. He grew up here in Massachusetts, and I was saying, I really think that racism starts at home, and the change has to start at home. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. When we go to the store, my 3-year-old will walk up and pick out whatever doll she wants. Her most favorite Barbie right now is a black Barbie doll, and it's her most favorite Barbie because she has overalls and she's a farmer Barbie.
Oh,
she's 3. She doesn't notice what she looks like. Like, her second favorite Barbie has bright green hair, Like, it's absolutely a learned behavior.
Wow.
And I think it's like deep ingrained, like in the South, it goes way back to the people from years and years and years. Oh, my grandpappy fought on this side and blah, blah, blah. And it starts at home. That's all. Like, it's as simple as it can be. I think it starts at home. I think it starts at school, and it also starts in church. I mean, in the South, in Elbert County, I personally don't know of a single Baptist church that both black and white people go to. Like, for instance, my mom goes to the Baptist church. There's no quote unquote segregated churches in Elbert County. Up here, there's no such thing. I mean, we have Catholic churches. We have Protestant churches, we have Baptist churches, we have synagogues, but it doesn't matter if you're black or white.
Right.
That's, what you relate to, that's where you go. And even like in the inner city, I have a best friend who grew up in Dorchester, which is like just a suburb of Boston, just outside. She went through part of her elementary school there. It's very, very, equal between blacks and whites and stuff. And, the church that she was baptized in, there were just as many black people there as white people.
Wow. Yeah. Now that you said that, I don't know of a church. Maybe there may be a church or two where it's not where you do have different races come, but a lot of times that's because you have the someone who's married to a white female or vice versa. But in South Carolina or in Florida or even in Atlanta, Georgia, where I actually live, and at a particular time, there was a church, and I seen that where it was more white and blacks, and how they interacted, and it was just like everybody was one.
You're there for Jesus. You're not there because you're black or white.
Exactly. So, And I think even with this ordeal here, I think it's like we're kind of taking him out of that. Like this whole thing to me is kind of like a heart check. You know what I mean? Like, so it's, I don't know. And I'm just trying to figure out, like, how can we, where does it start? You know, like it start at a particular organization. I feel like it starts with the organisms, us, right?
It starts in your heart.
Like, how do we go about, how do we start at organisms? How do we start? Is it by the conversation? Is it by identifying with the opposite color to see, to better relate? You know, so I don't know. But I just felt like having this conversation would be important because we could understand your perspective, or you guys can understand our perspective. Because even with this, with the Black Lives Matter, I just want you guys to know, and people being white, I just want them to know that we're not dismissing that you guys' lives don't matter. Your lives matter, absolutely. But in this time, it's just we're seeing something that's traumatizing.
But the thing is, like, my life isn't on the line every single day because I'm white. Your life is on the line when you wake up and you get out of bed every day. They might shoot you because you walked out your front door. You know, that's never going to happen to me. Actually, in the area I live in, like I said, is predominantly white. Yesterday, there was a mixed teenage girl. Her dad is black, her mom is white. She was getting her mail from her mailbox, and a white man approached her in an SUV and said, "What the F do you think you're doing? I think you're stealing mail. You're not allowed here." And she said, she looked around and she was like, "Excuse me, I live here." And, "No, you don't. I just saw you steal mail out of that mailbox." Luckily, her parents saw what was going on, came outside, and were like, "Hey, hello, what are you doing?" He is a fire lieutenant in that town.
No way.
Has not fired him. They placed him on paid administrative leave and are saying, "Oh, it's all just a misunderstanding." The only misunderstanding is that he's a racist and you haven't fired him.
Right. And it's just like, no one wants to, like, be that direct. It's just like we're beating around the bush. And it's just like,
I don't know, but again, like, I'm not good with words. Sometimes I just, like, blurt things out, but it's just like, white people should be happy that you guys just want equality and that you don't want revenge. Because
right.
This country down, like, you deserve to burn this country down after everything that we have done to you. I am very glad that we are not doing that. I understand why you're so upset, and I don't understand why the police are doing this. And it's not just the police. Like, I mean, they just had that thing in Georgia with the 3 white men chasing that. I mean, I guess technically he's like an police officer or whatever, but it's just, it makes me sick. And it's not okay. It's not.
I appreciate you empathizing with us. I know it's just difficult, you know, like, we're not asking to have special privileges. We just want to be equal. You know, that's it. Nothing more, nothing less. That's it. And it's like freaking pulling teeth. Why is it so difficult? Like, why do I have to feel like I have to work so much harder than anyone else just to be recognized in my company? Why?
That's not right. That's not right. Like, I look back at our class and, like, I was a student. I called it in half the time. I did not care. I know for a fact you got way better grades than I did. But me just being white, I am sure that I probably had more opportunities than you did. Yeah. You got your degree. You went to college. I had an associate's degree. I still had 2 awesome friggin' jobs. I worked in an advertising firm for multiple years before I left there because it was a toxic environment. And then I went on to work at a law firm where I worked until I left to become a stay-at-home mom. The law firm that I worked for, I will say, was extremely diverse. There was no issue whatsoever. The advertising company that I work for has been around for, I would say at this point, 20 plus years. As far as I know, they have never had a black person work there. They've had 1 person of color, is a Hispanic man, and he's like a off-site person who works in California. And this company's been in business for over 20 years.
Wow. See, I don't know. It sucks. But you know, as the transpiring events that are occurring, I do feel like I'm seeing a piece of the light. You know, I think we have a long ways to go. But I do feel like we are in some form or fashion being heard in a sense.
And that's what it should be.
But like I said, that we still have a long ways to go, and I don't know. Like for the people that just don't get it or don't see it, it's like that is it sucks.
Yeah.
And it's just like
I've been like battling with family members this week, being like, please just understand. They're like, oh, why don't they peacefully protest? And I'm like, okay, so what did Colin Kaepernick do?
Right.
What does that person do? Like, please, for the love of God, tell me what's the correct way to peacefully protest to get through to you? And I'm not going to name names, but this family member was like, oh, well, they should do it like Martin Luther King did. And I was like, oh, okay, let me lay some facts on you. First, we murdered Martin Luther King. Second, after we murdered him, 110 American cities rioted for 6 days. And on the 6th day, we got the Civil Rights Act of 1958 or 1956, whatever year it was. Mm-hmm. But that happened because we burned the world down. It should not have to be that way, but I get it. And this particular family member, I was like, please just understand, you know, if somebody had come out and murdered you in cold blood, which is what I see what happened to George Floyd is, cold blood, I'm not going to get into it, but that was terrible. Like, if somebody murdered you, I would burn this entire world down to get you justice. And that's me, one person upset about one murder in 1 year, not 400 plus years of systematic racism where we murder people for no friggin' reason.
Right.
And I'm like, how do you not get it? It's 2020. It's 2020. Like, oh my God. I just don't understand. I don't understand. And like, I have all these people being like, oh, well, the police, they're getting murdered by all these people. And I'm like, okay, well, I saw at least 7 videos today of 1,000% peaceful protesters being shot with tear gas, which we're not allowed to use in war against the Geneva Convention or whatever. I see innocent protesters being shot in the face with beanbag bullets. Like, I saw a guy today in a wheelchair who had his eye shot out by a rubber bullet by police. Like, the man was very obviously disabled. He posed no threat, and they shot him in the face and then didn't help him.
Wow.
I don't know what to do. I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how you are not like ripping your hair out, screaming at people. Like, you guys have a lot of poise. You all do.
I think, you know, when I heard about this, actually it was last Saturday, I woke up and I was in tears. I was in tears because my brothers and my dad, it could have been them. Like, every police stop that I've encountered or my brother encountered, especially when he had dreads, it could have easily went left. And he would have been identified or characterized by his skin color opposed to the person who he really is.
And they would have said all kinds of nasty things about him. And your brother is the nicest guy ever.
You know, but and that's just like other people. They are so nice. Their heart is pure, but you don't know that because you're characterizing him by the color of his skin. He don't even have a chance. And it's so bad. Like, you know, I think about the opportunities because I'm in IT, right? And we all know that programming, that's kind of more of a white male dominant industry.
Oh, for sure. Yep. That's what I worked with all men in the advertising firm that I worked with. All the men did IT and programming stuff.
So I'm there, and it's like, to sum the story up, after me being there 2 years, I was told it wasn't enough. So I took that as I wasn't enough. The thing that keeps me going is because I know my relationship that I have with Christ. And that's the only reason why I'm able to still flourish in the midst of all this. I'm still able to not break, because of all of this. So I really do, even particularly now, because it's a devastating time for us. So I really have to seek out more just to be cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
To
I
keep
want
it
to
together.
act cool. You know what I'm saying? But I can't do that because I know where my help comes from. I know what's going on. And I can't be one of the ones that's out here doing crazy stuff. That's not going to help the situation.
You.
Yeah, and it's not going to help the situation. Like, well, where am I? So my thing was, let me just talk to someone that of another race, but just I want to get their perspective, and I want them to hear mine, because I feel like that's kind of where it's going to start. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, Bethany. It's difficult. It's hard.
Honestly, I want to know what more can I do to help you? Like right now, I'm screaming from the rooftops. I don't always have the right words to say, so I might not always post things that are from my heart, but I might read something that a journalist wrote or a meme or something that speaks to me, and they could say it a lot better than me, and 9 times out of 10, I'm going to share that over speaking my own words, because I get so passionate, I get so upset, my words get jumbled, I start to cry, I say the wrong things, I argue with my family members, it turns into this whole thing. So right now my biggest thing is sharing things that resonate with me, that people can say it better than I can. I'm going to as many rallies as I can. I'm trying to donate as much as I can.
Yes.
I don't have a ton of money to donate right now, so there is this viral video that if you watch it for 10 minutes, every time you watch it, it donates money to Black Lives Matter and different organizations. So I've actually had that playing downstairs all day long.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know what to do, and I'm happy to do anything I can. I have all these ideas. I think the police need to not necessarily be defunded. I think the funds need to be reappropriated to proper training to, hey, why don't we just not whack a Black person with a baton type thing, Maybe we send all of these cops to psych evaluations. I actually saw something earlier today, and I didn't have a chance to read into it in depth, but it compared police officers to doctors in the sense that, every doctor carries malpractice insurance. Why don't police carry malpractice insurance? If they were to be the ones footing the bill for this, and it's not the police union, well, hey, maybe I'll think twice about whacking somebody in the knees just because it's Black, if I might have to pay for this out of my own pocket.
Right. No, I totally agree. And I can honestly say, it looks like it seems like you've done quite a bit of research. It's overwhelming. And I just don't want to be in that place, that sad place. But I really appreciate it, because you're taking the time out to really sympathize with us and understand our pain. And
it makes me mad. This is not fair. Like I said, if I was checking that girl in Andover, a couple towns over, if I was checking my mail, nobody's going to bat an eye at me. My neighbor the other day got delivered a package. I've met her twice. I've lived here for 5 years. I've met her twice. Her package fell off of her mailbox. It fell onto the ground, and we live on a busy street. I thought it was going to get run over. I picked up her package, and I put it on her mailbox. She sent me a Facebook message later in the day. Hey, thanks. I appreciate it. I'm sure that was you who left my mail on my porch. If I had been Black and one of my neighbors drove by and saw me doing that, would they have stopped me like they did this poor 16-year-old little girl checking her own mail? I don't get it. It's harder for me to understand because I grew up here, even though it wasn't super diverse in my childhood. Like I said, we went into Boston. Color was never a thing. My mom was a counselor to all the homeless people. In Boston, it's 88% people of color who are homeless at this point. She was a drug and alcohol abuse counselor for this homeless population. On her days off, and on holidays, we would bring cookies in. And they had a thing, and my parents have been divorced since I was 4 years old, but my dad is still pissed about this. If you weren't sober and you showed up to the shelter, they wouldn't let you in. But if it was the dead of winter, my mom was like, I can't leave them outside. They'll freeze to death. And she would bring them home.
Wow.
Like, this is when my parents were still still married before they got divorced. My dad would get up to go, he was a correction officer. He would get up to go to the prison, and there would be like 8 homeless men asleep on our living room floor.
Oh, wow.
And my mom would have like given them all of his clothes.
Wow.
So for me, like when we moved to Georgia, it was like a huge culture shock. Like I just never experienced that overt racism. You will not see a Confederate flag in Massachusetts, and you certainly won't see one that's part of the state flag.
Wow.
Granted, I will say our flag does have a Native American on it. I mean, I live in the next town over from where the Pilgrims, quote unquote, landed. We have like a whole, there's a Plymouth Rock you can go and see that is, again, quote unquote, where the Pilgrims landed. There's a whole like plantation you can go and see where the Indians supposedly taught white people how to plant corn, but we both know that's not what really happened. Massachusetts is getting better at that. They are trying to take down a lot of the statues that, honor the rape and pillaging of Native Americans, but we still have a long way to go. I mean,
Right.
For us, it was more like up here, it's more the historical Native American type stuff versus the overt racism, because of course we were on the opposite side of the Confederacy. So everybody up here has that holier than thou, like, oh, we didn't have slaves, we're better than that, we like black people, but we maybe not have, maybe we will, maybe
Yeah. Wow. I guess for me, Bethany, I don't know where to go from here. Like, I don't know what else to do. I don't know how to help get our voices heard other than to vote, because I'm not even gonna go there, because I feel like this starts with the head.
Absolutely be participating in my local elections, because those actually do matter, either way. But the biggest thing to me is reaching out to my local people, because it all starts. It starts as little as it can be. It starts with your selectmen, your board people. If you have people who, I'll nicely say, aren't like-minded or whatever in your local office, it starts there. They're not going to protect the people that you want to protect.
Okay. Good. Okay.
I mean, I think it starts at like the smallest level. Again, like it starts at home, it starts at church, it starts at school.
Right.
But then once you get out of that, okay, where do you go next? Yes, you can absolutely try to work for a company that is going to be like-minded to you and is open to everybody. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, like you go to a company that isn't as diverse and try and open them up to show them that everybody else can do this.
Right.
You can work on both ends of the spectrum. I've been struggling a lot this week with having feelings on all different sides of it. And I saw a Venn diagram that was like, you can be upset that George Floyd was killed. You can be upset that people's businesses are being destroyed. You can be upset that police brutality exists. You can be upset and understand why they're destroying things. And you can be in the center. Like, you can be all of these things and still be a human. You don't have to just fit into one niche.
Gotcha. That's a good point. I think with that though, I think we're so infuriated with what's going on that it takes, I don't know, it's just like, we just want this justice. We just want to be treated equal. It's just like nothing else matters right now.
No, and it shouldn't matter.
The difference is it's starting to be captured now.
The only difference is cell phones.
Yes.
We all have a digital camera in our hand.
Yes.
If George Floyd had not been murdered on film, this would not be happening.
This would not be happening. This would not be talked about.
I'm disgusted at this. White people would not care if we hadn't seen it. Like, the whole picture it didn't happen has gone way too far.
Right.
Way too far.
Exactly right. Exactly. Oh, girl, you said a mouthful then. Yes. You're absolutely right. Right.
I don't even know what to do. Like I talk to people. Actually, I think I mentioned to you I'm taking care of a little boy with Down syndrome. I call him a little boy. He's 22 now, but he's not.
Oh
Um,
wow.
he's actually my cousin. I've worked with him on and off over the years, but I went to pick him up yesterday. I hadn't seen him in a couple months. My aunt has a brand new neighbor who I've never met before. She's lived in the same townhouse, I mean, for like 20 something years now. Brand new neighbor. He's an older white man. And I pull up, I have never met this man in my life. I've never laid eyes upon him. And it was hot out, so I had my window down. And he walks right up to my window and says, "Oh my gosh, I just saw on the news that George Floyd was arrested 5 times." And I was like, well, that doesn't mean that the police officer should have killed him. And he was like, "Oh yeah, absolutely, but he was arrested 5 times. That's a disgrace." And I was like, "Oh well, did you know that Derek Chauvin?" I had my sunglasses on, and I was like, "Did you know that Derek Chauvin had 18 complaints against him, and that Amy Klobuchar, who was running for president, declined to prosecute him all of those times? That's a disgrace." And I pulled my glasses back up and I got out of my car and walked away. And I went inside and saw my aunt and I was like, "Auntie, who is your neighbor?" She's had this super old lady who was her neighbor for 100 years. And she was like, "Yeah, I don't know him. He's some old former military guy. I don't talk to him. I ignore him. He doesn't really like Jeremy." That's my cousin who has Down syndrome. And she's like, "He kind of looks at him funny."
Wow. Wow.
I mean, Albany, I've never laid eyes upon this man before. And the first words out of his mouth are, "Oh, did you know he was arrested 5 times?" And I was like, I don't care if he was arrested 100 times until he's convicted and charged with the death penalty. Nobody gets to kill him.
Right. Doesn't justify killing someone.
You are not judge and jury. You're a police
right.
officer. 18 complaints against you. Went to the police academy. He gets to do what he wants.
And that's and Bethany, you brought up a good point. I do oftentimes feel like white people and maybe some black people, but I feel like he went to jail 5 times or he did this and he did that. He wrote this a bad check or whatever. And I'm thinking, maybe so. But that doesn't justify you killing someone.
No.
It's just it is almost like they feel like that's a legitimate point or a legitimate case.
Exactly.
You have no case there.
I mean, honestly, Albert County is a small town. If they were to look in the police blotter, and my mother will tell you herself, she was arrested multiple times. She was probably arrested more times than George Floyd was. She cleaned her life up. She got involved with Celebrate Recovery. She's doing great now. The best thing that ever happened to her was getting felony probation, and she will be the first person to tell you that. But she never feared for her life when she was getting arrested on these charges. It never happened. It never, and I mean, as far as I know, most of these charges all originated in Elbert County. Enough said. Before Chris Cornell was arrested, before he was convicted, and everything that happened, she was all of her charges were before all of the corruption that happened in the Elbert County Sheriff's and Police Departments. And wow. A lot worse could have happened to her, but it didn't, because she was a white lady from Boston. Everybody still, I think, calls her the crazy Yankee and whatnot down there. She's crazy. With Bonnie from the 4-H Center.
Yeah, I don't know. But like I said, for me, this conversation has been helpful. I think it's been mainly helpful for the simple fact that you're trying to identify with us, and you're understanding. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you haven't experienced this, but you understand that doesn't mean that it don't exist. You know what exactly. I'm saying? And I appreciate you for taking the time out to speak with me to kind of figure out how we could bridge this, how we could, just remove all this racism. And I know it's going to be a long journey, but it's kind of what can we do as humans? How can we play our part, whether black or white, and just becoming more, equal across the board. So, but having this conversation with you and you just being real direct and honest about your answers and about your perspective. I really appreciate it, Beth.
Fair, and if there's something that I can do for you more than what I'm doing, my God, tell me. If there's somebody that I can write to, like today should have been Breonna Taylor's 27th birthday, and she was asleep in her bed, and the only person that's in charge at this point is her boyfriend, who was licensed to carry a gun, and there was plainclothes officers barging into his house, shooting him in the middle of the night. Like, do you think that my white husband wouldn't shoot back? Like
Exactly. So by you knowing that, that's what I'm saying. I appreciate that. I appreciate you taking the time out to look at some of this or reading some of it, because a lot of times that's not the case. It's just like totally being dismissed from the other opposite race, and it's just like, dude, this is what we need y'all to see, though.
I'm glad that we were able to have this talk. And I mean, like you say, if there's anything I can do for you, like if there's something more than I can do, if there's something I'm missing, please tell me, because the only thing that I have is my voice. I didn't go through this. I don't have the feelings. I don't have the history of it. It doesn't go back 400 years for me. All that I can do is go forward. I have 2 kids now. I'm teaching them better. Like, that's all I can do, is to make sure that they're better than we are.
And that's all we ask. And I really appreciate it. All right, much love.